Hello everyone. I am creating a video series on AWS Developer Certification Exam. In this particular video, I will be focusing on basics of AWS, how to start with AWS, and will explore the basic services like compute services and the networking services. This is the agenda for this video. We will be talking about AWS regions, availability zones, VPCs, how to create a isolated network, EC2 instances, and all the security groups or network access control for accessing purpose. And at last, we will be creating a demo where I will be creating a VPC with private and public subnets. And I will also deploy a sample application using user data, and we'll see how we can access that application on the browser after configuring all the security groups. So first thing, you can create a AWS free tier account, and which is valid for 1 year, where you can create almost all the services and do the hands-on without any charges. So once you log into your AWS management console, you should see this screen. And on the top right, this is the regions. Like right now, I am in this US East Ohio region. So AWS provides lot of regions across our world. Like you can see some are in US, some are Asia, Canada, Europe. So there are a lot of regions. And each AWS regions contains multiple data centers that it grouped together to form a availability zones. In AWS, there are almost all the services which which are region scope. Like if I click on EC2, like I'm just taking an example, then you are seeing that whenever I'm browsing the EC2 instance, the region is Ohio. So whatever I will be creating here, it is available only in this region. There are some services like the IAM services that is used to create a users or the role permissions. But here you can see that it is at the global level. So in AWS, there are some services, is almost all the services which are region specific, but there are some like this IAM which are global scope, which scope is in global. So here first we will be exploring the compute services. So here you can see that AWS provides a lot of compute services. In this particular video, we will be exploring the EC2 instances. So what is EC2 instance? EC2 instance is just like a virtual physical server that you can just launch it. You can just consider it as your normal server. It's just like you can just launch it within just seconds using this GUI, and it is up and running. And after that, you have all the access. However, you work on your normal Linux machines or Windows machines, you can work it on this machine also. Okay. So, and the EC2 instances, whenever you create any EC2 instance, it runs on a host machine within a specific AWS availability zone. So I can show you, like I have some instances which are currently stopped, but if I go there, you can see that each instance is running in a availability zone. So right now, I think I am not able to see it because it is stopped. Or maybe if I'll go to networking, I should be able to, yeah. So here you can see that in the availability zone, it is in this availability zone. So all the EC2 instances are for a particular availability zones. You can define, you can select this option also if you want to change it. EC2 instance type offer bare metal access also. What does that mean? Where you have a direct access to the processor and the memory of your underlying server. And in the EC2 instance, you have a different types of instances also. Like if I click on launch instance, you can select all any of the AMIs. AMIs is like an image. Like if you select this, you will be getting a Linux type of operating systems and some basic software, whatever in the image is already configured. So I can select this one And this is most important part. This is the instance type. So here you can see that it provides you what type of machine you want to create. Like you can decide, I want one CPU or one memory. This is according to your application. So there are different parts of that, like general purpose. You can just have little bit of CPU and RAM and it's good. And there is one compute optimized, like you want high amount of CPU, such as where you need high performance web server, scientific modeling, like that. Memory optimized, where you need large amount of RAM. And there is one storage optimized, a large amount of storage and input output throughput, such as data warehousing. And there is one type also accelerating computing, like for the graphics, for some programmings, like that, real time video processing. So this is what EC2 instance is about. You can create a EC2 instance in this way. So there are some questions that comes in the exam also, like I have noted down here, like how we can change the first thing EC2 instance hardware. Like suppose I have created this EC2 instance, but after some time I realized that I need more CPUs and more memories. Then what is the option we have? So they provide, like you can stop the instance, and once the instance is stopped, you can go there, and in the instance setting you can change the instance type, and here you can select any of the one whichever you want to. So this is how you can actually change the hardware, I mean your memory and CPU of your running instance. But you need to make sure that it is stopped, and then you can change it. Okay. So one more thing that I wanted to highlight here. So all EC2 instances, like I can just make one as a running. So let me just do this. So if you go to the networking, you would be seeing the elastic network interfaces. So this is getting created automatically, and this is the primary network interface. So this gets created automatically as soon as you launch an EC2 instance. So that is we called elastic network interfaces. These are called virtual network interface for your EC2 instance, and what it does, it provides the networking for your EC2 instance, and they are also associated with the VPCs that we will be talking in next. And each EC2 instance assigned a primary network interface, and they are associated within a subnet inside a VPC. And each EC2 instance gets a private IP so that they can communicate with other instances within the same VPC, and they get a public IP to communicate with the internet. If we need, we can attach the additional elastic network interfaces also, and we can also detach them and attach to another one if needed. And each elastic network interface, if I go there, you can see that each of these gets its own MAC address also. Okay. So this is the basics. Like when you create a EC2 instance, this network interface is automatically get assigned, and this is called a primary network interface. You can create additional network interfaces also and attach them to one of the EC2 instance. And you can detach them also and then attach it to another EC2 instance also. So this is what is called ENI. Now the next thing is this key pairs. What is key pairs? So key pairs is nothing. It is like to how you can access the instance. Like I launch an EC2 instance, but how can I access it? So for that, you can create a key pair like that also. Like before even you launch an EC2 instance, beforehand you can create a key pair, and then at the time of launching a new instance, you can select it. It's up to you. So this is what the key pair is all about. So how that key pair concept works. So AWS retains the public key. It works based on the public and the private key. And AWS retains the public key, and the private key you need to store it on your machine securely. Like for an example, for a Linux instance, The public key of your key pair is added to the default user, whatever the default user under this folder, so that I have already have the private key so that I can SSH to that instance for that particular user. Like, because for the first time, there should be something so that you can access it, right? For the Windows instance, the password for the default administrator account is encrypted with the public key and can be decrypted with the private key. And EC2 key pairs also are regional in scope. Like, what does that mean? When I am doing this key pair, you can see that it is specific to region. So your one EC2 instance will not work for the instances which are in different region. The second topic is AWS instance life cycle. So when you create a EC2 instance, there are three primary states like running, terminated, and the stop. Running means it is running, and terminate means you terminated, it shut down. Now you cannot do anything. And it stopped, like you just stopped it because you are not working right now, so you can stop it. And there are some intermediate states also. So I can show you this example. Like when you launch, so the intermediate states is pending. Like when you launch an instance, before it goes in running, it goes to run pending. And the stopping, when you stop it, like when you stop the running instance, then it will go to stopping. And the shutting down, like when you terminate it, it goes in the shutting down in intermediate steps. And how the pricing works for EC2 instance. So you will be charged only when EC2 instance is running. Like for example, right now I have these instances, those are stopped. Like there are some instances which are stopped. So I am not getting charged for that. I have not talked about the EBS volumes, that is the storage, because we need to use something for the storage also. So for that, you will get charged independently of your EC2 instance. Either it is stopped or not running or running, it doesn't matter. You will be getting charged for the amount of storage of the EBS volume that you are using. Okay, so the next thing is what happens to the data? Like when I stop the instances, then what is happening to my data? So any data which I'm storing on the instance store, like the default root, like whenever I create a EC2 instance, like if I show you and I can select anything, configure instance details, here you can, we'll do it in the demo also. Yes, so this is the volume type. So this is default one, right? And here you can see that delete on termination. You can change that also. But yeah, by default, it is like that only. So any data on the instance store are erased when instance is stopped. To persist the data, you should use the EBS volumes. And as I've shown, the default behavior is that this EBC volume should get deleted as soon as you delete this instance or you terminate this EC2 instance. And typically it says that whenever you each time you whenever you start your instance, it is launched on different physical host machine than before. So sometimes there is some issues, and when we say that, oh, start the server or restart the server, and it resolve the issues. So the reason is that it actually start on the new fresh server. So obviously now it's a new fresh server, so you will not see the issues, right? So that is also one thing. Now the second thing, the user data. What is user data? So when I'm launching a new EC2 instance and I want that some specific software or anything else, I want that it should get installed automatically. Like I don't want to log into the server and then install any software. So that is called the user data that you can provide it. So in this instance, I can show you. So here is the user data. So you can provide as text also, like if I want to install the Apache, as soon as this instance launch, I want to install the Apache. So you can provide a normal command like sudo yum install, whatever it is. You can just do it in that way. And you can use the file also, like you have a file and you can provide the file path also. So this is called the user data. So on Linux machine, user data can be a shell script or a cloud init directive. On Windows machines, depending on the version of your Windows servers, either EC2 config or EC2 launch process the user data. By default, whatever commands we supply to the user data execute only at first boot of the instance. Okay, so the second thing, so I have this EC2 instance already launched here. I will be showing you how to create, but right now just show demo. I'm showing this. How to connect to your EC2 instance also, you would be having that option connect, and there are lot of options that you can use. I'm using the SSH, like I have this private key, I can just use that. So let me just go to my terminal. Okay, so let me just go to my terminal. Here is the here is my key is present. So let me just log into this. So here basically you just need to provide the PAM file and your host name. On Windows, you can use the Git Bash, and I use Git Bash on Windows, but here you can directly use like this terminal. Okay, so I am on this instance now. Okay. So I need to talk about instance metadata, right? So what is instance metadata service? So this is any application which is running on your instance can use those values, like your metadata properties that they called instance metadata. Like, and you can also retrieve the user data, like what got installed at the time of bootstrap. So you can do that also. So this is the basic IP. I mean, this is the instance metadata service IP that you can use. Like I can run this command here. Okay, so here you can see that these are all the information that I can get using this metadata. So specifically, if I want, okay, so if specifically if I want instance ID, I can use like this instance ID. So here you can see that I can see the instance ID. So that is the use of the instance metadata that you can use. Like if any application is running on your EC2 instance, you can use these properties value if you want to do any kind of thing, you know. So you can use this type of thing also. And the second thing is the AWS API credentials. Like how, I mean, if your application needs certain kind of access, right? So how you can provide that credentials? So for that, AWS provides the IAM rules, right? IAM roles that you can use. So if I go here, so there is a service called IAM that is for managing the access to AWS resources. You can create a role, like here I have created this web server role, and I have provided them this policies, like I have provided them these access, translate, read only, or Amazon. I mean, for my demo I'm using this type of uh, policies, but yes, you can assign any of the permissions for your role. And when we use the IAM roles, then we don't need to store the credentials manually on the servers. And how we can assign it, right? How, so this is basically to provide the access to your EC2 instance, so that we don't need to provide anything else or directly on the server. So if I go to EC2 instance here, so let me go there. So this is my instance. I can select this, and there is an action here, modify IAM role. Okay, so here you can define the IAM role. So what is that called? When you assign an IAM role to an instance, it is assigned indirectly through an instance profile, and which is a container for an IAM role. One instance profile can be associated with multiple EC2 instances. but one EC2 instance can have only one instance profile. So this is like some important points that can come in the exam. And we can assign instance profile either at launch time or later also. So this is how you can modify it. And I mean, you can do whatever you want here. And how it works now. So you assign the role, and let me just show you. So I have created this IAM role, how it works basically. I have created one user also, like this dev admin. I have created this user, and I have created this group that is called the administrator group, and I have created this role that is called the web server role. So this web server has these two policies. Policies is like the permissions that you are giving to your role. And if you want me to show you how to create a role, so you can do, I am doing this, allow EC2 instances to call AWS services on your behalf. And here you can select the permissions. So here you can provide whatever permissions you want, right? Next text to review, and you can now create a role. So this is how you can basically create a role. And when you create a group, like I have created this group, and you can assign the policies like that. Okay. So now how it works. So this is your instance. Okay. So EC2 instance makes a call to the AWS STS service to generate a short-term credentials. And credentials are generated as per the policies whichever you defined in the IAM role. They got it, right? The credentials are exposed to the instance to the Amazon EC2 metadata service. Like I have said that you can use those metadata services for anything. So it pulls the latest credentials via metadata services. So this is how you can provide the credentials on your EC2 instance, which can be used by your application to do anything. Next thing, like how you can monitor your EC2 instance, right? So AWS automatically do some checks, and it just check every minute everything is up or not, and it provides a status like a okay if no issue found, and impaired if there is any issue. And you can see it in this Cloud Watch. So this is the Amazon Cloud Watch where you can monitor your resources. I'm showing you things which are automatically Amazon do. So my service is EC2, and here you can see everything. So basically it provides you the basic things like the CPU utilization, disk read bytes, disk reads, like all those things for your instances it provides. And here you can see all the details of my instance. And based on that, I mean, you can create an alarms also and configure it. And there is one more thing, the Amazon VPC flow log. So what is that? Like, what is VPC flow log? Where for each network sessions, like when I'm browsing some application, right? I hit one URL. So it actually captures the source, destination, protocol, port, packet count, byte count, and time interval. And in this VPC flow logs, you can see the details whether the traffic was accepted or the rejected. So in that VPC flow log, I mean, when you create a VPC, you can enable that. And in that, you will be finding all the log entries. It is like an events where you can see how many traffic is accepted and how many got rejected.